The thunderous roar of the river echoed through the canyon as Adam Porter dragged his exhausted body through the muddy banks, his boots sinking into the soft earth with each labored step. Montana Territory, 1876, a place where a man could lose himself or find his purpose. For Adam, it had been 4 years of the former. The spring flood had come early this year, turning the normally peaceful Snake River into a raging torrent that carried debris from miles upstream. He'd almost missed her among the broken branches and silt. A flash of color against the murky water caught his eye, a beaded garment clinging to the form of a young woman sprawled face down on a sandbar, the water lapping hungrily at her body. "Good Lord," Adam muttered, splashing into the shallows without hesitation. His calloused hands found purchase on the woman's shoulders, gently turning her over. She was Native American, her copper skin pale from the cold, dark hair matted against her face. For a moment he thought he was too late, but then her chest rose with a shallow breath and her eyelids fluttered. "Hold on," he said, lifting her into his arms. She was lighter than he expected, her slender frame wrapped in a buckskin dress decorated with intricate beadwork. Her face was young but not childlike, a woman of perhaps 20 summers, with high cheekbones and full lips now blue from the river's chill. She murmured something in a language Adam didn't understand as he carried her up the steep embankment toward his cabin. The structure stood alone on a ridge overlooking the river valley, a solitary outpost Adam had built with his own hands after leaving his old life behind in Missouri. By the time he shouldered open the cabin door, the woman was shivering violently. Adam laid her on his bed, quickly building up the fire in the stone hearth. Experience from long winters had taught him about the dangers of the cold. He worked efficiently, removing her wet clothing and wrapping her in every blanket he owned before placing heated stones near her feet. "You're safe now," he said, though he doubted she understood him. He noticed a deep gash on her upper arm, crudely bound with a strip of fabric that had come loose in the river. Adam cleaned and dressed the wound with a poultice of herbs he'd learned to use from an old trapper years ago. As darkness fell, Adam sat beside the bed, studying the woman's face in the firelight. Even in her weakened state, there was a fierce beauty about her. She wore a necklace of bear claws and turquoise that he'd left in place, sensing its importance. Tribal markings on her dress identified her as Shoshone, one of the bands that still moved through this territory despite the government's efforts to confine them to reservations. Near dawn, the woman's eyes opened fully for the first time, dark, almond-shaped eyes that fixed on Adam with a mixture of fear and defiance. "Water," Adam said, miming drinking. He helped her sit up enough to sip from a tin cup. "Thank you," she said in clear, if accented, English that surprised him. "You speak English?" "Yes," she replied, her voice raspy. "I am called Hope." Adam raised an eyebrow. "That's not a Shoshone name." A ghost of a smile touched her lips. "My people call me Churro. But the mission school gave me hope." "I'm Adam Porter," he replied. "What happened to you? How did you end up in the river?" Hope's expression darkened. She touched the bandaged wound on her arm. "Men came to our camp, white men with guns. They wanted our horses." Her voice faltered. "My brother fought them. I ran when they started shooting. One of them chased me to the river's edge. I jumped rather than." She left the sentence unfinished. Adam nodded grimly. Horse thieves were a plague in the territory, often more dangerous than any outlaw gang because they operated under the pretense of legitimacy. "Your arm will heal," he said. "You should rest. When you're stronger, I'll help you find your people." Hope studied him as if measuring his words against some internal standard. "Why did you save me?" The question caught Adam off guard. "What kind of man would I be if I hadn't?" "There are many kinds of men in these mountains," she said simply, before exhaustion claimed her again. Adam moved to his chair by the fire, rifle across his lap, a habit from years on the frontier. As the morning light filtered through the cabin's single window, he contemplated the complication that had washed up on his doorstep. 4 years he'd lived alone, speaking to another human only when he went to town for supplies every few months. He'd chosen solitude after the war, after watching friends die at Shiloh and Antietam, after returning home to find his family farm seized for debt. The wilderness offered peace that civilization couldn't. Now that peace was disturbed by a wounded Shoshone woman and the promise of trouble that followed her. When Adam woke, the cabin was filled with midday light. He startled, realizing he'd slept longer than intended. Hope was sitting up in the bed, her dark eyes watching him. "How long have you been awake?" he asked, stretching his stiff back. "The sun has moved from there to there," she said, gesturing to the window. Adam nodded, moving to check her wound. The poultice had drawn out some infection, but the gash looked cleaner today. "Are you hungry?" "Yes," she admitted. He prepared a simple meal of dried venison stew with wild onions and the last of his cornmeal. Hope ate carefully but with evident hunger. As she finished, she looked up at him with more clarity than before. "My people will be searching for me," she said. "I reckon they will," Adam agreed. "When you're strong enough to travel, I'll take you to them." Hope shook her head. "They will come here. My father is Red Hawk, a band chief. He knows these valleys." Adam felt a prickle of unease. Relations between settlers and natives were strained throughout the territory. While he'd had peaceful interactions with Shoshone hunters who occasionally passed through his hunting grounds, hosting a chief's daughter was another matter entirely. "How far is your camp?" he asked. 2 days' ride to the north, near the 3 Peaks, she said, describing a mountain formation Adam recognized. "That's Blackfoot country," he observed. Hope nodded. "We have an agreement with them for spring hunting grounds." She attempted to stand but swayed on her feet. Adam caught her before she fell, one arm around her waist. "Easy," he said. "You're still weak." Their faces were close, and Adam became acutely aware of her, the scent of river water and wildflowers in her hair, the warmth of her skin beneath his hands. Hope's eyes widened slightly, and for a moment something passed between them, an unspoken recognition. She stepped back carefully. "I must make a signal fire. When my people come to the river crossing, they will see it and know I am alive." Adam considered this. A signal fire might attract the horse thieves as well as her tribe, but he understood her urgency. "I'll help you, but not today. Rest one more night. Tomorrow, if you're stronger, we'll make your signal." Hope seemed about to argue but nodded instead. One more day. As evening approached, Adam stepped outside to tend to his horses in the small corral behind the cabin. The gelding nickered in greeting, pushing his nose against Adam's chest in search of treats. The sky was clear, stars beginning to appear above the jagged mountain peaks. The peaceful moment was shattered by the distant report of a rifle. Adam froze, listening intently. Another shot followed, then silence. He led the horses into the small barn for safety, then returned to the cabin. Hope stood in the doorway, her face tense. "Gunshots," she said. "Yes," Adam agreed, ushering her back inside and securing the door. "Could be hunters, or the men who attacked our camp," she countered. Adam checked his Winchester and Colt, making sure both were loaded. "Stay away from the windows," he instructed. "I'll keep watch tonight." The night passed without further incident, but Adam slept little, alert to every sound from the forest surrounding his homestead. At dawn, he stepped outside, scanning the tree line and the path that led down to the river. Nothing seemed amiss, but years on the frontier had taught him to trust his instincts, and they were signaling danger. Hope joined him on the porch, wrapped in one of his woolen shirts over her now dry dress. "I need to make the signal fire today," she said firmly. Adam nodded. "There's a clearing on the ridge that can be seen from the river crossing. We'll build it there." They worked together through the morning, gathering green branches that would produce heavy smoke when placed on a hot fire. Hope moved with more strength today, though Adam noticed her favoring her injured arm. As they worked, she told him more about her people, how they had adapted to the changing world, trading with settlers while maintaining their traditions. "The missionary school taught you well," Adam observed as they carried armfuls of branches up the slope. "For years," she replied, "until my mother died and I returned to my father's band." She paused, looking out over the valley. The teachers wanted me to forget my people's ways, but my mother said I should learn the white man's knowledge to help our tribe survive. She sounds wise, Adam said. Hope's expression softened. She was. She married my father after her first husband, a trapper, was killed by a grizzly. She taught me to walk in both worlds. The revelation that Hope was half white explained her facility with English, and perhaps some of the dignity with which she carried herself, a blend of cultures that seemed to give her a unique perspective. By midday, they had built a substantial pyre on the ridge. Adam lit it, and soon a column of thick smoke rose into the blue sky, visible for miles. Hope stood watching it, her face tight with anticipation. "How will we know if they've seen it?" Adam asked. "They will answer," she said simply. They returned to the cabin to wait, sharing a meal of fresh-caught trout and wild greens. As the sun began its descent toward the western mountains, Hope suddenly stiffened, her head turning toward the window. "What is it?" Adam asked, reaching for his rifle. "Listen," she whispered. At first, Adam heard nothing, then caught the faint sound, a drumbeat, distant but distinct, echoing through the valley. "That is our signal drum," Hope said, a smile breaking across her face. "They have seen the smoke. They are coming." Adam felt a curious mixture of relief and apprehension. "How long?" "They will travel through the night," she said. "By morning they will be here." That night, Adam offered Hope the bed again, but she insisted on making a pallet near the fire, saying she had imposed on his hospitality enough. As she settled onto the blankets, she looked up at him with an expression he couldn't quite decipher. "Why do you live alone, Adam Porter?" she asked. Adam sat in his chair, considering the question. Few people had asked him directly, and fewer still had received an honest answer. Yet something about Hope's directness deserved the same in return. "After the war, the one between the states, I came home to nothing," he said quietly. "My parents had died, the bank had taken our land, I drifted west, worked cattle drives, scouted for the army." He paused, the memories still raw despite the years. "I saw how the country was changing, towns springing up where there had been only wilderness, railroads cutting across the plains. I wanted a place away from all that." "You were seeking peace," Hope observed. "I suppose I was, still am." "And have you found it?" Adam considered the question. "Some days." Hope nodded, as if his answer confirmed something she already knew. "My people have a saying, the lone wolf survives, but the pack thrives." "I'm not much for thriving," Adam admitted. "Surviving's been enough." Hope's dark eyes held his. "Perhaps you have survived long enough, Adam Porter. Perhaps now it is time to live." The words hung in the air between them, carrying a weight Adam wasn't prepared for. He stood abruptly, moving to check the door's heavy bar. "We should get some rest," he said. "Tomorrow will bring its own challenges." He lay on his bed, listening to Hope's steady breathing as she slept by the fire. Outside, an owl called into the night, its mournful cry echoing his own restlessness. For 4 years, he'd convinced himself that solitude was preferable to the complications of human connection. Now, a woman he'd known for barely 2 days had called that certainty into question with a simple observation. Sleep eluded him for much of the night. Dawn broke with a clarity that suggested a fair day ahead. Adam rose early, dressing quietly to avoid waking Hope. He stepped outside to check his surroundings, the habit of vigilance ingrained after years on the frontier. The valley lay peaceful beneath a pearl-gray sky, no sign yet of approaching riders. He tended the horses, then collected eggs from the small henhouse, another of his concessions to settled life. As he returned to the cabin, Hope emerged, her hair neatly braided, the borrowed shirt belted over her dress. "Good morning," she said, her voice carrying a note of anticipation. "Morning," Adam replied. "No sign of your people yet, but the day's just beginning." They prepared breakfast together, moving around the small cabin with an easy coordination that surprised Adam. Hope seemed to anticipate his movements, handing him utensils before he asked, adding wild herbs to the scrambled eggs that improved their flavor considerably. "Your cooking puts mine to shame," he admitted as they ate. A skill learned from both my mother's Shoshone and White, she said with a slight smile. My father's other wives taught me our traditional foods, but my mother showed me how to make biscuits and apple pie when flour was available. The mention of pie made Adam realize how long it had been since he'd tasted such comforts. His own cooking was utilitarian, meant to sustain rather than please. As they finished eating, Hope suddenly tensed, her head turning toward the door. "Horses," she said. "Many of them." Adam hadn't heard anything yet, but he trusted her senses. He moved to the window, carefully peering out. At first he saw nothing, then caught movement at the edge of the tree line where the path from the river emerged into the clearing. Riders appeared, one, then three, then more, until Adam counted 15 warriors on horseback, their faces painted for war, rifles and bows clearly visible. They formed a semicircle around the front of the cabin, effectively cutting off any escape in that direction. "Your people have arrived," Adam said, keeping his voice calm despite the flutter of tension in his chest. Hope moved to the window, looking out at the warriors, her face lit with recognition. "My father leads them," she said, "and my brothers are with him." Adam saw the man she indicated, older than the others, with gray streaks in his long black hair, sitting straight-backed on a painted pony. His face was stern, eyes scanning the cabin with the intensity of a hawk. "What now?" Adam asked. "Now we go out to meet them," Hope said simply. "Do not bring your weapons, it would be seen as a threat." Adam hesitated. Years on the frontier had taught him never to face armed men unarmed. "Are you certain?" "They have come for me, not to fight," she assured him, "but they will be cautious until they understand what has happened." Taking a deep breath, Adam nodded. "All right, you lead the way." Hope opened the cabin door and stepped onto the porch. A visible ripple of reaction passed through the warrior's: relief, surprise, and continuing wariness. She raised her hand in greeting and called out in her native language. Adam remained a step behind her, hands visible at his sides, acutely aware of the many weapons pointed in his general direction. Red Hawk dismounted with the agility of a much younger man, handing his reins to one of the warriors. He approached the cabin, his gaze moving between his daughter and Adam with careful assessment. "Father," Hope said in English, presumably for Adam's benefit, "this man saved my life. The river would have claimed me if not for him." Red Hawk stopped at the foot of the porch steps. His weathered face revealed little, but his eyes, so similar to Hope's, were sharp with intelligence. "You are the one they call the solitary one," he said in accented but clear English. "The settler who trades fairly and keeps to himself." Adam was surprised to be recognized. "I'm Adam Porter," he confirmed. "My hunters have seen you. You have never bothered our hunting grounds or defiled our sacred places." Red Hawk gestured to Hope. "My daughter says you pulled her from the waters and tended her wounds." "Yes, sir," Adam replied, the formal address coming naturally in the presence of the chief's dignity. Red Hawk studied him for a long moment, then made a gesture to his warriors. They lowered their weapons, though Adam noticed they remained vigilant. "Tell me what happened," the chief commanded Hope. She described the attack on their camp, her flight to the river, and her rescue by Adam. As she spoke, Adam watched the warriors' faces harden at the mention of the horse thieves. "4 of our people were killed," Red Hawk said when she finished. 7 horses stolen. We tracked the thieves south before turning to search for you." "I'm sorry for your losses," Adam said sincerely. Red Hawk acknowledged this with a slight nod. "You have honored the old ways by helping one in need regardless of her people. For this, you have my thanks." He turned to Hope. "Are you well enough to ride, daughter?" Hope hesitated, glancing at Adam. "My arm is healing, but the journey would be difficult today." Adam saw the calculation in her eyes, a mixture of truth and something else he couldn't quite name. Red Hawk seemed to notice it too. "Then we will camp nearby for the night and leave tomorrow," he decided. "If the settler permits." "You're welcome to use my land," Adam said. "There's good grazing for your horses in the meadow beyond the barn." The chief gave instructions to his warriors, who dispersed to establish camp. 2 remained nearby, clearly assigned to keep watch. Adam recognized the continued caution trust extended only so far in these uncertain times. Throughout the day, Adam observed the efficiency with which the Shoshone established their camp. Hope moved between the cabin and her people, clearly relieved to be reunited with them, but returning frequently to where Adam worked repairing a section of corral fence. "My father wishes you to join us for the evening meal," she told him as the sun began to dip toward the mountains. Adam wiped his hands on his trousers. "I'd be honored." The meal was more elaborate than Adam had expected: venison, roots, and berries, prepared in ways unfamiliar to him but delicious nonetheless. He sat beside Hope in a place of honor near Red Hawk, aware of the curious glances from the other Shoshone. After they ate, one of the older warriors produced a pipe, and a more formal council began. Adam listened as Red Hawk and his advisors discussed the horse thieves, their movements, and the tribe's response. They spoke mostly in Shoshone, with Hope occasionally translating key points for Adam's benefit. "These men have raided other camps as well," she explained. "They sell the horses to ranchers who don't ask questions, or to the army. The army has orders not to buy from unlicensed traders," Adam said. An older warrior with a scarred face spoke rapidly in Shoshone. Hope translated. "Many eyes says some soldiers care more for cheap horses than for orders." Adam couldn't argue with that assessment. He'd seen enough corruption during his time scouting for the army to know it was true. As the council continued, Adam noticed the way Hope carried herself among her people with confidence and authority despite her youth. The warriors listened when she spoke, and even Red Hawk seemed to value her opinions. It was clear she held a position of respect that went beyond being the chief's daughter. When the council ended, Hope walked with Adam back toward his cabin. The night was clear, stars brilliant in the vast Montana sky. "Your father seems like a wise leader," Adam said. "He is," Hope agreed. "He understands that our world is changing, but he works to preserve what matters most: our dignity, our connection to the land." They stopped at the edge of the clearing, the campfires of the Shoshone casting flickering light through the trees. "Tomorrow you will return to your people," Adam said, surprised by the hollow feeling the words created in his chest. Hope turned to face him, her expression serious in the moonlight. "Yes, we must prepare for the summer hunt and move to our higher camps as the weather warms." Adam nodded, uncertain what else to say. 2 days ago he had been alone, content in his solitude. Now, facing the prospect of returning to that solitude, he found it less appealing than before. "I want to thank you properly, Adam Porter," Hope said softly. "Not just for saving me from the river, but for your kindness afterward. Many men would have treated me differently." "I just did what anyone would do," he replied, uncomfortable with her gratitude. Hope shook her head. "No, not anyone." She reached out, her fingers lightly touching his arm. "My father says you choose to live apart from others, that you are known for keeping to yourself." "I've found it simpler that way," Adam admitted. "Simpler, perhaps. But is it better?" Her dark eyes held his, challenging him with the question. Before he could formulate an answer, a call came from the camp, one of the warriors summoning Hope to help with something. She responded in Shoshone, then turned back to Adam. "Rest well," she said. "Tomorrow brings new paths for both of us." Adam watched her walk back to her people, her slender figure soon disappearing among the shadows and firelight. He returned to his cabin, which suddenly seemed emptier than it had in 4 years of solitude. Morning arrived with a gentle rain that dampened the earth and filled the air with the scent of wet pine. Adam rose early, preparing coffee and a simple breakfast. He had just finished eating when a knock came at the door. Red Hawk stood on the porch, dignified despite the moisture beading on his buckskin shirt. "May I enter?" he asked formally. Adam stepped aside. "Please." The chief entered, his gaze taking in the cabin's sparse furnishings: the single bed where Hope had rested, the table with its 2 chairs, the few personal items Adam had accumulated over the years. "You live simply," Red Hawk observed. "I need little," Adam replied. The chief nodded, accepting the cup of coffee Adam offered. My daughter speaks highly of you. She says you have a good heart beneath your quiet manner. Adam wasn't sure how to respond to this, so he remained silent, waiting for Red Hawk to continue. We leave today to return to our summer hunting grounds, the chief said. The horse thieves remain a threat, but we have sent runners to warn other bands. I'll keep watch for them, Adam promised. If they come this way again, I'll make sure they regret it. Red Hawk studied him over the rim of his cup. You were a soldier, he said, not a question but an observation. Yes, long ago. Yet you do not wear the blue coat now, nor do you carry yourself like the Indian agents who speak with forked tongues. I saw enough of war, Adam said simply. When it ended, I wanted no part of what followed. Red Hawk seemed to understand this. He set down his cup and regarded Adam with newfound respect. There is a belief among my people that souls sometimes recognize each other, even when meeting for the first time. Like old friends finding each other after a long separation. Adam wasn't sure where this was leading, but he listened attentively. My daughter has known much sorrow, Red Hawk continued. Her white mother's death left a wound that has not fully healed. She walks between two worlds, belonging fully to neither. The chief's weathered face softened slightly. Since you pulled her from the river, I have seen a light in her eyes that had dimmed. She's a remarkable woman, Adam said honestly. Yes, Red Hawk agreed. Too remarkable to return to a life that cannot fulfill her spirit. He fixed Adam with a penetrating gaze. What do you seek in your solitude, Adam Porter? The direct question caught Adam off guard. Peace, I suppose. And have you found it? It was the same question Hope had asked him. Not entirely, Adam admitted. Red Hawk nodded as if this confirmed something. The lone wolf survives, but the pack thrives, Adam finished, recalling Hope's words. A smile touched the chief's lips. She told you our saying? Yes. Red Hawk rose to his feet. We will break camp within the hour. I thank you for your hospitality and for my daughter's life. He moved toward the door, then paused. There is a place where the river narrows, marked by 3 standing stones. Do you know it? Adam nodded. About 2 miles upstream from where I found Hope. When the full moon rises, our people gather there to trade with other bands, Red Hawk said. You would be welcome, should you wish to bring furs or other goods to exchange. The invitation was significant. An outsider rarely received such access to tribal gatherings. I'm honored, Adam said sincerely. Red Hawk departed without further comment, leaving Adam to contemplate the conversation. He busied himself with chores, aware of the activity in the Shoshone camp as they prepared to leave. Part of him wanted to seek out Hope, to say a proper goodbye, but something held him back, perhaps the fear that such a farewell would only make her departure more difficult to accept. By mid-morning, the camp was packed, horses laden with belongings. Adam stood on his porch, watching as the band formed a line to depart. Red Hawk led them, with warriors flanking the women and children who walked beside pack horses. Adam searched the group for Hope, but didn't see her. A hollow feeling settled in his chest as he realized she must have already joined the procession out of his sight. He raised a hand in farewell as Red Hawk guided his horse past the cabin. The chief acknowledged him with a solemn nod, then continued leading his people toward the trail that would take them north to their summer grounds. Adam watched until the last of the band disappeared into the trees, the sound of hoofbeats and voices fading into the distance. He turned to go back inside, then stopped. Hope stood at the edge of the clearing, her horse's reins in her hand. She wore a new buckskin dress, her hair adorned with feathers and beads that marked her status in the tribe. A small pack was secured behind her saddle. Adam stepped off the porch, crossing the distance between them with long strides. I thought you'd left with the others, he said. My father rides ahead with our people, Hope said. I told him I would follow. But you haven't, Adam observed. Hope's dark eyes held his. The river changed my path once, perhaps it has done so again. Adam felt his heart quicken. What are you saying, Hope? My father believes that some souls recognize each other, even in their first meeting, she said. When you pulled me from the water, something awakened in me that I had thought was lost. She took a step closer. You live alone because you believe it brings you peace. I have lived among my people, yet often felt alone. What of your tribe, your responsibilities? Adam asked, though every fiber of his being wanted to reach for her. My father understands better than you might think, Hope said. He has given his blessing for me to choose my own path. She hesitated, suddenly vulnerable, if that path might lead to your door. Adam closed the distance between them, taking her free hand in his. When I found you in the river, I was saving myself as much as you, he admitted. I just didn't know it until now. Hope's smile was like sunrise breaking over the mountains. Then perhaps we can find peace together, neither fully of one world or the other, but creating our own. Adam drew her into his arms, their lips meeting in a kiss that felt like coming home after a long journey. When they parted, he pressed his forehead to hers. Stay, he whispered. Not just today or tomorrow, but for all the days to come. I will, she promised. As the sun reached its zenith, Adam Porter led 2 horses toward his cabin, his own and Hope's, walking side by side as equals. The solitary life he had built was transforming, not ending but expanding to embrace a future he hadn't dared to imagine. From the ridge above, unseen by the couple below, Red Hawk watched his daughter's choice with the wisdom of one who had loved across boundaries himself. He raised his hand in a gesture of blessing, then turned his horse to follow his people, knowing that sometimes the greatest gift a father could give was the freedom to forge a new path. In the valley below, Adam and Hope crossed the threshold of the cabin together, closing the door on solitude and opening it to possibility. The river continued its eternal journey nearby, its waters carrying away the past and nourishing the future that now took root in ground once barren with loneliness. The lone wolf had found his pack, and in that finding, both would thrive.